Hi, heavenly creatures. You guys are all absolute miracles. Absolute miracles. I just look around today and I just see miracles everywhere I look. And I'm just blown away by God's beauty and by His creation. And I think about us humans and I think about the absolute, miracle of human life, and that we are all put here for a purpose, and that we all have these emotions. We all cry, we all laugh, we all, hurt, we all get hungry, we all get, depressed from time to time. We all feel joy. We all feel the same emotions. It's incredible to me that we as human beings, we feel such an array of emotions, such a different spectrum of emotions, and that we all have that in common. It's just fascinating to me. And I was thinking about King David in the Bible, and I was thinking about how he was always described as a man who was after God's heart. And I just know that that's my truth. I'm after God's heart. And I know that that's so many of your truths, that you're after God's heart. You're really sincerely seeking Him. And I feel like our stories are so important. That's why I keep telling my stories, my childhood diaries, and just the little things that are going on in my life all day long, because we all have stories. We have our ultimate story, which is our salvation, and that we are children of God, and that we have a Savior. That's the ultimate story. But then we have our stories just in life. And all of our stories are different. They might be similar in certain ways, obviously, but our stories are so important, and they really do minister to people. So I just wanted to inspire you guys today and encourage you to tell your story. Find a way to tell your story. A girlfriend of mine did a TikTok, and it's Clarissa. Clarissa, you don't mind, right? I'm just going to tell them. It's you. It's Clarissa, the girl who keeps commenting on my video post. She's an old friend of mine. And she did a TikTok about miscarriages, and she had several. And I know that it was a very, 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 very painful thing for her, very painful time, very painful season. I mean, I don't know exactly how many there were, but there were several. And she did a beautiful TikTok. I don't know if you guys can find it. Maybe I'll have her post a link. But it is, it's really short. I think it's only about maybe a minute long, but it's her story. It's one of her stories. And all of us have the ability to speak. God gave us the gift to speak. And so why not tell our stories? Find a platform for yourself, whether it's at church or a Bible study or even a book. Maybe you could start writing your book, or starting a podcast or a YouTube channel. I just think it's so liberating and cathartic and godly. I think it's important to tell your story. And you may not think that your story is all that important, but trust me, it's going to move somebody. It's going to change somebody's life. You may think that your life has been boring or mundane, or you don't have anything interesting. That is just a lie. It's a lie from the pit of hell. Your story matters, and I just encourage you to tell it. Tell your story. When when the blind man in the Bible was healed by the Lord, he used spit and mud and put it on his eyes, and he could see. And when the religious leaders called him to the synagogue to question him, and they just slammed him with all these questions, he was like, look, all I know is that I was blind, but now I can see. Now I see. I was blind, but now I see. And that's sort of how I feel about this channel. I feel like because I have gotten to a place where I'm willing to share not just part of myself, but all of myself, it has made me see that we are all so similar, and that we all have our, crosses to bear, and that my story is not so unique, and that I had been isolating myself for a while, thinking that these were stories that I had to sort of bury and keep quiet about, and maybe just share it with a therapist or, a counselor or a pastor, or it wasn't really for anybody else's ears. But I see now. I see now that that's not true. I see now that people get healing from our stories. So today, please consider finding a way to get your story out. TikTok, Instagram, because it's a testimony. Your story is a testimony about how you got to be where you are. The Lord said to go out into the nations and proclaim my name. A lot of people say to me, keep your beliefs to yourself. Why do you have to share your beliefs with everybody else? Just stay in your lane about that. And I always come back with, look, I would if I could, but I am commanded by my Lord, by God. It's biblical that I share the gospel, that I talk to people about how I found Jesus and how he's changed my life. And I'm not saying that your story has to be that. I mean, ultimately it's that. That's your ultimate story. But even just telling our testimonies and our stories and our heartbreaks and our heartaches and the abandonment or the alcoholism that was in our life, or the physical abuse, or the divorce that you had to endure when you were a child, your parents' divorce, or whether it was an incarceration of one of your parents, shameful stuff. I mean, most of you know that my sister wrote a book about she and my father and their escapades and what happened there. I mean, it's not funny, but I carry some shame around it, but not as much as I used to, because I'm verbal about it. I talk about it, and it still makes me cringe, and it still makes me feel really sad and heartbroken, not only for my dad and for my sister, but for the whole family. But you know what, guys? It's my story. It's my story. It's part of the fabric of who I am. And when you turn a tapestry over, somebody commented this, and I loved it. When you turn a tapestry over, it just looks like chaos. All the threading is everywhere, and nothing is coherent. Nothing is, nothing makes sense. It's like chaos. And then you turn the tapestry over, and it's perfect, dimension and perfect art and perfect order and perfect beauty and perfect, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like symmetry? I don't know. But anyway, the tapestry is chaos on one side and order on the other. Perfect order. And that's the way our stories are, you guys. They seem like chaos, and they seem painful and they seem confusing and they seem overwhelming. But when you start to share about it and start to open your heart and start to reflect on it, it gives other people hope. It gives other people a reason to get up the next day. You never know how your story is going to impact somebody else. You just never know. So I hope that today you will consider telling your story to more people if you haven't started that process already, because it's incredibly healing, it's incredibly rewarding, and it walks people home, guys. It helps people not feel so alone, and it walks them and loves them to the cross. I took a holy note that I just want to address here. It's been such a beautiful day here in California. I don't know what it's like there for you guys, wherever you are. But God can use our stories to change the lives of those around us. Jesus heals a demon-possessed man and sends him home to tell what God had done for him. Luke 8:26-39. Lives were later changed because of that one man's story. So remember, God would never expect us to do anything that he didn't already do himself. God came to this planet and he left us with the most incredible, most mind-blowing story that 3,000 years later, people are still marveling at. And not everyone believes the story. Not everyone believes, but they've all heard it. Almost everybody's heard Jesus' story. And let's tell our stories. Let's tell our stories. Let's make that part of our ministry, part of the fabric of who we are, that we're unashamed and unafraid to tell our stories. I feel like shame is so deep, and I feel like it runs so deep, and that the enemy would love for us to feel so much shame about the trials that we walked through that we would never want to open our mouths, that we would just want to keep it locked tight and put in a dark closet somewhere. But ultimately, we need to be set free. And by opening up and talking to other people about the journey that we've been on to get us to where we are today, or maybe you're still, in a place where you feel like you're stuck in that dark closet and you can't get out, talk about it. There's so many people in that closet today. There are so many people who are hurting. There are so many people who are broken. There are so many people who have had tears streaming down their face today and contemplated suicide. I don't mean to get too intense, but that's a fact. That is a fact. And you just never know. You just never know. Our life here is a blip. And your story is powerful. Your story is powerful, and God has purpose for you to tell your story. Trust me on this one. God has purpose for you just in telling your story, because it's beautiful. Your story is unique and it's beautiful. So I think I'll leave it at that. I pray you're having just a remarkable day. And yeah, if there's no root, there's no fruit. So stay connected to the Lord, stay grounded, keep reading the Bible, keep reading the Word, stay connected, keep commenting, and let's all reap the fruit, because that's what the Lord wants for us. He wants us to reap the fruit. Lots of love. Bye. Can't wait to hear your story.